I always thought I knew Laura pretty well. We met in college, got married young, and for a long time things seemed solid enough. We weren't perfect, but I believed we were in love, or at least I did. She was the kind of woman who could be bitchy and manipulative when she didn't get her way, but I thought she loved me enough to keep things honest. That was, until I started noticing little things that didn't add up. At first, it was small stuff. She'd come home later than usual, saying she was working late at the office, but I'd check her phone and find her texting someone, mostly just fluff, nothing explicit at first. Then she started canceling plans with friends, saying she was too busy or tired. Her phone was always tucked away, and she became suspiciously defensive when I asked about her whereabouts. I chalked it up to paranoia, but deep down I felt uneasy. One night I decided to surprise her after work. I had a free afternoon, so I swung by her office just to say hello. When I got there, I saw her in the parking lot, parked next to a young guy I hadn't seen before. They were talking and she was laughing a little too much at whatever he said. My stomach clenched. I watched from a distance, trying not to make it obvious I'd seen. The way they interacted, the way she smiled so flirtatiously, leaning in just a little too close, it hit me like a hammer. That's when I started to realize this wasn't just innocent late nights or work stress. Something was going on. I didn't confront her that night. Instead, I went home, my mind racing. That night I stayed up staring at the ceiling, replaying everything. Why would she do this? We had our problems, sure, but I never suspected her of cheating. She was always bitchy, yeah, but I thought it was just her personality. Now I wasn't so sure. Over the next few days, I kept watch. I noticed her phone going off at odd hours, her mood swinging wildly, and her defensiveness growing whenever I questioned her about her whereabouts. She started to get really nasty when I asked about her plans. One day, I found her hiding her phone and quickly locked it away. That's when I saw the notifications from the church's security system. I'd never paid attention to it before, but I'd heard the church had security cameras and something made me check. That's when I saw it. The videos from the last Bible study session she attended. The recordings showed her sneaking out of the church meeting room with Pastor Mike, the youth pastor. They were in the shadows, trying to hide whatever they were doing. And what made my blood run cold was that it wasn't just a quick kiss or some innocent conversation. They were actually making out, and from the camera angles I could see they weren't just talking. It was obvious they'd been fooling around for a while. They spent a good 20 minutes in that room, and I could see them through the security footage, her hands in his jacket, his hand on her waist, their mouths locked together. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My wife, Laura, the woman I'd trusted, was betraying me with our church's youth pastor, Pastor Mike. I felt sick. All those nights she'd accused me of paranoia, of being insecure, and I had been blinded. She'd been lying to me the whole time, sneaking off, doing God knows what with the guy who was supposed to be guiding our youth. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying the footage, trying to process what I saw. It was like a punch in the gut. My wife, who I loved, who I thought loved me, was screwing around in the very church we attended, in the place where she claimed her faith was so important. It was a betrayal on every level. I felt rage, heartbreak, confusion. How could she lie to my face about everything? How could she look me in the eyes and pretend everything was fine? It was like my whole world had shattered in that moment. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My stomach was twisted and I couldn't get the images out of my head. I knew I had to confront her. No way could I keep this bottled up. But I also knew I had to be careful. Laura isn't the type of woman to take anything lightly, especially not betrayal. If I just blew up, she'd probably deny everything, accuse me of being paranoid, or turn it around on me. Still, I couldn't hold it in. I had to face her. Before she woke up, I snuck into the living room and pulled out that damn footage again. I rewound it, slow and deliberate. I needed to see it again, to convince myself this was real, not some sick nightmare. Her sneaking out of the church with Pastor Mike, the way they touched, kissed, the fact that they stayed in that room for so long. It was undeniable. I copied the footage onto my phone just in case I needed proof. Then I sat there waiting for her to wake up, heart pounding in my chest. When she finally rolled over and saw me sitting there, her face immediately twisted into that bitchy, annoyed smirk. "What are you doing up so early? Can't a woman get some peace around here?" I looked her dead in the eyes and took a deep breath. Laura, I know about the church meetings. I know what you've been doing with Mike. I saw the footage. Her expression flickered, a flash of anger, then her usual dismissiveness. What are you talking about? You're imagining things, you're just paranoid like always. I shook my head. No, I'm not, I saw it. You've been sneaking around with him during Bible study in the church. That footage is from the security cameras. You lied to me about everything. How long has this been going on? How many times? She sat up, crossing her arms, rolling her eyes. You're crazy. You're just jealous because I spend time with my friends. Mike is just a pastor, a spiritual advisor. You're overreacting. I was furious. Spiritual advisor? You're kidding me, right? You're in there making out with him, hiding in the shadows like some teenagers. And you call that just spiritual advice? How long has this been going on, Laura? Tell me the truth. She scoffed and looked away. You don't know what you're talking about. You're always accusing me of things. Maybe I should be asking you what you're hiding. That did it. I felt the rage boiling over. You've been lying to my face for months, maybe longer. I trusted you. I loved you. We had plans, a life together. But you've been screwing around with our church's youth pastor. How could you? How could you cheat in the church, in our faith? That's despicable. Her face turned red and she spat. You're crazy if you think I'd do something like that. You're just bitter because I won't give you what you want. Maybe I'm tired of pretending everything's fine. Maybe I deserve better than this bullshit. The words hit me like a punch. She was gaslighting me, trying to turn it around, making me doubt myself. But I couldn't ignore what I saw. The proof was there. I felt crushed, betrayed, disgusted. How could she do this to me, to us? I'd been blind, and now everything was falling apart. The fight escalated from there. I accused her of lying, cheating, and disrespecting everything we stood for. She yelled, called me paranoid and insecure, said I was controlling. But I knew I was. I knew these weren't just accusations. They were facts. I told her I needed some time to think, that I couldn't live with this betrayal hanging over us. She just shrugged, told me I was overreacting, and went into the bathroom, slamming the door behind her. That day, I went for a walk. I needed to clear my head, figure out what the hell I was supposed to do next. My mind kept racing, hurt, anger, confusion. How could she do this? How could she lie to me, smile at me, pretend everything was fine? And the worst part was, I didn't even know if she loved me anymore or if she ever really did. It felt like my entire life was a lie, and all I could do was stand there, trying to hold the pieces together, knowing everything was about to change forever. I spent the rest of that day in a fog, trying to process what I'd seen and what it meant. Every time I closed my eyes, her face flashed back at me, full of that fake innocence she put on when she was lying. I kept asking myself how I missed it all, how I could have been so blind. I thought about all the little signs I ignored. Her defensiveness, her secretive phone habits, the way she'd lash out when I asked questions. I realized I'd been, in a way, too trusting, or maybe just too naive. By evening, I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. I had to get some clarity, even if that meant making some tough decisions. I decided. I was going to confront her again, this time with a plan. I wasn't just going to ask her what was going on. I was going to get answers, real answers, and then decide what to do next. I'd been humiliated enough. I deserved the truth. That night I sat her down again. Her face was still that bitchy, dismissive smirk, like she thought I was overreacting. She was trying to act like nothing had happened. I let her talk, but I wasn't listening. My mind was racing through what I knew, what I had proof of, and I was already planning my next move. Finally, I said, "Look, Laura, I know about Mike. I know everything, and I want to know why. Why did you think you could do this? How long has this been going on?" She rolled her eyes, crossing her arms again. "You're delusional. You're blowing things out of proportion. I don't know what you're talking about, and I don't have to explain myself to you." I looked her straight in the eyes. "You've been lying to me, hiding things, cheating in the church where we both go. That's not just some innocent flirtation. That's betrayal. I saw the footage, Laura. I saw what you're doing with Mike. Don't lie to me anymore. Tell me the truth." She was silent for a moment, then scoffed again. "You're crazy. You've always been insecure. Maybe you're the one who's been cheating on me in your head, huh?" That was the final straw. I realized she wasn't going to be honest. She'd already made up her mind to deny everything, to keep her secrets. I knew I couldn't trust her anymore, not with my heart, not with my marriage. I felt a wave of anger surge through me. It wasn't just about the affair. It was about the lies, the deception, the way she thought she could get away with it all. I told her I needed space, that I couldn't be around her right now. I packed a bag and left the house for a few days to clear my head. I didn't want to be near her, didn't want to hear her lies or her manipulations. I stayed at a friend's place, trying to figure out what this all meant for me, for us. Deep down, I knew I was hurt beyond words, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I couldn't go back to the way things were. Not after what I saw, not after the betrayal. As I sat in that quiet house alone, I realized I'd been a fool. I thought I was protecting my marriage, but the truth was I'd been blind. Now, I had to decide if I was going to fight for her or cut my losses and walk away. Either way, my life was never going to be the same. And honestly, I didn't know if I was ready to forgive her or if I even wanted to try. The days that followed were like walking through a fog. I couldn't eat much, couldn't sleep much. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, that bitchy smirk, the way she lied so effortlessly. I kept replaying the footage in my head, trying to find some ounce of reason why she did it, why she thought she could get away with it. Honestly, I still couldn't believe it. How do you even process that kind of betrayal? How do you look at someone you loved and realize they've been cheating on you with someone from your own church? It's a sick joke, and I felt like I was the punchline. I kept asking myself if I should confront her again or just cut ties completely. The thing is, Laura is a master at spinning stories. She's bitchy, manipulative, and always knows how to gaslight her way out of things. The last thing I wanted was to give her the chance to lie her way through it again, but part of me needed closure. I needed to hear her say it, to look her in the eyes and hear her deny everything to my face, just to be sure I wasn't crazy. One night, I decided to go back home. I told myself I needed to see her to get some answers, even if I already knew what I'd find. As I pulled into the driveway, my stomach clenched. The house was dark, silent. I slowly pushed the door open, feeling like I was walking into a war zone. The air smelled like her perfume, mixed with something else, something sour. She was sitting on the sofa, scrolling through her phone. When I walked in, she looked up with that same bitchy attitude, like I was bothering her. Finally decided to come back, she said with a sneer. I didn't waste time. Laura, I saw the footage. I know what you've been doing, so just be honest with me now. How long has this been going on? How many times? She rolled her eyes, trying to act like she was above it all. Oh, please, you're accusing me of stuff I didn't do. You're just jealous because I spent time with someone else. Maybe you're the one who's been cheating in your head, huh? I clenched my fists. Don't lie to me. I saw the videos. I saw how you and Mike were in that room in the church. Don't even try to deny it anymore. She stood up, her voice rising. You don't get to tell me what I did or didn't do. You're just insecure. If you had any balls, you'd admit you're jealous because I'm better than you, more attractive, more spiritual, more everything. You're just a miserable little man who couldn't keep his wife happy, so now you're trying to ruin me. That was it. I'd had enough. Her lies, her manipulations, her disgusting attitude. I looked at her with disgust, realizing I'd been holding on for too long. The woman I loved was gone, replaced by someone bitter and ruthless. I turned my back on her and said, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. I want a divorce. Her face twisted in rage. Fine, get out then. You're not even worth my time. I grabbed my coat and left without looking back. That night I stayed at my friend's place again, feeling a mix of relief and devastation. I knew I couldn't stay in that house. Not with her, not after everything. The betrayal had cut too deep. In the days that followed, I started making plans. I needed to get my life back in order. I knew I'd have to file for divorce. There was no coming back from this. I also realized I had to rebuild my trust in people, in faith, in myself. My whole world had turned upside down overnight. It hurt more than I thought it would. But somewhere inside, I also felt a strange sense of liberation. I was finally seeing her for who she really was, bitchy, selfish, and utterly unworthy of my love. I had to accept that and move on. The process of sorting out the divorce was everything I expected and more. It was messy, full of tears, accusations, and that bitter feeling of betrayal lingering in every conversation. Laura did everything she could to make me feel guilty, to turn the entire thing around on me. She was bitchy and manipulative to the very end, insisting that I was the one who was unreasonable, that I didn't understand her, that I was overreacting. But I knew better. I had the proof, and I had seen her true face. Getting everything legally sorted out was a nightmare. She fought me on every step, claiming she deserved more, that I was a terrible husband, a jealous fool. But I had lawyers' evidence and my own resolve. I wanted out of that toxic mess. The final papers were signed about 2 months after I left, and as I walked out of that courtroom, I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. The aftermath hit me hard. I had lost my wife, my marriage, my sense of stability. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and honestly pretty damn angry. For a while, I couldn't look at her without boiling over with rage. Every memory, every moment I thought was genuine, now tainted by her lies and betrayal. I had to learn to live with that, to rebuild from the ground up. But the real shock came when I started to reflect on everything I'd been through. I realized that I'd been giving her the benefit of the doubt for too long, ignoring the signs, dismissing my gut instinct because I wanted to believe in us. That hurt the most, knowing I'd been naive, that I missed all those red flags until it was too late. I felt stupid, angry at myself for trusting someone so bitchy and manipulative. But I also knew that I couldn't keep blaming myself. People like Laura don't change, and I couldn't hold on to something that was already broken beyond repair. Over the next few months, I threw myself into work, trying to distract myself from the pain. I also started seeing a therapist, which helped me process everything more rationally. I learned that betrayal cuts deep, but it also teaches you a lot about your boundaries, your self-worth, and what you refuse to accept anymore. I realized I deserve someone who respects me, who shares my values, and who isn't sneaking around in church or lying about her feelings. I won't lie, there are still nights when I think about her, about what we lost and how she could do something so disgusting. But I'm slowly moving past it. I've started dating again, cautiously, trying to trust people again after being so badly burned. Honestly, I'm proud of myself for surviving this mess and coming out the other side with some semblance of dignity. Looking back, I can say with certainty, trust is fragile. It's something I took for granted until someone shattered it in the worst way possible. If I could give one piece of advice to anyone in a similar situation, it would be this: don't ignore the signs. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. And never be afraid to walk away from someone who treats you like garbage, no matter how much you loved them. You're better off alone than in a relationship built on lies and betrayal. That's what I've learned from all this, and honestly, I'm just trying to rebuild one day at a time. Now that I've gone through everything, I look back and realize how much this whole nightmare changed me. I used to believe in love and trust, but betrayal has a way of making you question everything. I've learned that people are often much more selfish and manipulative than you want to believe. Laura's actions proved that she cared about herself more than anything, more than her vows, her faith, and certainly more than me. That realization hurts, but it also frees me from the illusion I was clinging to. I've come to understand that the worst betrayal isn't just the cheating itself, but the lies and the secrecy that go along with it. The fact that she thought she could hide this in the place we both thought was sacred, our church, makes it even more infuriating. It's like she turned her faith into a cover-up, as if her betrayal was justified because she was struggling or some bullshit like that. I see now how she used her bitchy attitude, her manipulation, to keep me confused and second-guessing myself. But I refuse to let her win by letting her guilt trip me into feeling bad for walking away. In the end, I learned that I deserve better. I deserve honesty, respect, and someone who truly values me. I won't settle for someone who cheats, lies, or gaslights. I won't let her ruin my self-esteem or make me feel guilty for protecting myself. I've started to rebuild my confidence piece by piece. I've been seeing a therapist, and that's helped me understand that sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to walk away from a toxic person, no matter how much it hurts. I'm not perfect. I still get angry, still remember the betrayal vividly. But I also realize that holding onto that pain only keeps me chained to her. I need to move on to focus on myself and to find happiness again. I've learned that sometimes love can turn into something dark and twisted, but that doesn't mean I should stay and let it destroy me. So here's what I want anyone reading this to take away. Never ignore the signs. Trust your gut. And if someone shows you their true colors, like Laura did, walk away before they drag you down with them. Because in the end, the only person responsible for your happiness is you. And I owe it to myself to find a better, honest kind of love, one built on respect, not betrayal.